And if you are familiar with the program, you know, and I don't take pride in this, but as Hulk Hogan was going through his health issues, there were all types of reports, false reports on his condition. And I took the I have some pretty reliable sources that keep me up to speed on what's going on. Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody was attacking me. People like Eric Bischoff and Brian Blair and Jimmy Hart and Missy Beefcake and even his wife Sky all responded to allegations that I was making that at the end of the day, not to pat myself on the back, but looks like what I said is what happened. My first day on June, I think it might have been, 18th, Lummy?
June 18th.
June 18th is when I said family members have been called to come and pay respects. He's not doing well. He has a heart issue, and it's not looking good. You know, a month later, 6 weeks later, he's dead. And so, in the information that I have received since he's died, nobody's going to say this either. I'm going to be the only guy on the island. But listen, before you say that I'm crazy and that I'm just trying to get clickbait and clout and make myself relevant and all of that, maybe that's true. But if I hadn't nailed the front part of this situation, then I can understand where you potentially might not want to believe me on this part. But Dan, you as a doctor, I was very accurate on what happened.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, the first day, Lummy, I actually said cardiac,
heart issues.
Heart issues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what medical records show, that Hulk Hogan had a heart condition known as AFib, which causes an irregular heartbeat. The WWE icon also was diagnosed with chronic
lymphocytic
leukemia. Now, Dan, my first question is this. This came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Nobody has been reporting that he had leukemia.
No.
Now, I gotta, and this is a question for him, I don't think leukemia just rolls up on you like Monday you don't have it and Wednesday you do.
Well, certainly not CLL. I mean, the C stands for chronic. It's usually a very slow disease. Shows up in the 70s. It takes an average of about 12 years for people to die from it. So it's not a very aggressive leukemia.
But never.
But it doesn't just show up out of nowhere.
But never has this been reported, not even to his most closest friends and family, has it been reported that he's been battling with leukemia.
I would be surprised if this wasn't on his medical records for the last 5 years.
Really?
And so sometimes this type of leukemia, they just kind of wait and watch. Sometimes they'll treat it. There's about 400 ways.
Is leukemia, can it lay dormant?
This particular kind of leukemia can be so slow growing that it's not much of an issue. It's kind of like prostate cancer sometimes. They just kind of sort of let you die with it. This is one of those things that they let him die with but didn't necessarily kill him.
The documents, part of the cremation approval summary report, also noted that Hogan had leukemia, CLL, a type of cancer affecting the white blood cells and bone marrow. Well, would this not have shown up in his blood panels that he has done? I think he's had 25 surgeries in the last, I don't know however many years. Wouldn't this have shown up in the blood panel? I know you do a blood panel every time before you go under.
Yes, he would probably have elevated white blood cells, and within that elevation, in the differential, his lymphocytes would be elevated.
And so would it be reason not to operate?
That's a tweener. It depends.
I mean, if you have,
if it's a chronic leukemia, the one that you can live with for 10 or 12 years, and obviously there's an argument to operate. If he has exacerbation of it or is in a flare-up of it, then there would be an argument not to operate. So it was likely in a sort of a slow-growing, dormant area, why no one even talks about it.
So here is the official certificate of death. Now, it's my understanding, well, I know for a fact that there is no autopsy. And I know, and I've been told that his primary physician did the investigation and gave that report to the medical examiner of Pinellas County, and the medical examiner of Pinellas County then went by the doctor's report and I've been told that didn't do his own investigation, went solely on this doctor's report. Now, is that the way it goes? Dan,
Sometimes,
procedurally?
If it's natural causes, then there's no autopsy, and they just attend this to natural causes. So,
but
if it's suspect, then there is an autopsy.
But what I'm saying is this. So you're Quincy, the medical examiner of Pinellas County, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you have arguably the most popular man ever to live in that county, not to mention the state, not to mention one of the most popular people in the history of our lives. One of the most popular people. I mean, he's on the level of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant,
Well, like in L.A. County, they would have called for an autopsy like they did for Michael Jackson and all the people that die under these kind of circumstances. And so could a local medical examiner have called for an autopsy? 100%, if they thought there was something suspicious.
The reports came back that the city of Clearwater, or the medical examiner, and this is I saw it somewhere in a report, wanted to save the taxpayers' dollars because autopsies are expensive, and there was no autopsy. Now,
and it was done in the name of like government efficiency?
I don't know. So here's what various pieces of information that I'm getting. So his doctor, Lummy, I think his doctor is
Dr. Fitzgerald.
Dr. Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
He's the one that did the investigation. So I didn't know protocolly, I don't know if that's correct or not, but protocol-wise, that, like, for instance, Dan, even though you're not a general physician, you are my primary physician. I list you as my primary physician.
Right.
And, because you can
get records.
I get info. I don't scoff at you as only a Some people be like, oh, he's just a plastic surgeon. I'd be like, bitch, he's the best damn doctor in the world.
That means he's a general surgeon plus.
Yeah. So I like when people say, you got a plastic surgeon? Like, yeah. And he's probably better than you, bitch. Mr. Johnny General. My guy can do it all. My guy's a hand specialist. My guy can, So, Dan, I put you at the highest regard. You, are not just a plastic surgeon to me, you are a medical god.
He's a scientist.
Thank you.
You really are. You know that. And so, if I was to die, and you are my primary physician, and you do an investigation as to how I died, and you may not want to put some various things down, like maybe everything I was taking, and you certify that I died this particular way.
No, I would just say morbid obesity,
Yeah, there you go. Heart attack, morbid obesity.
Boom.
Then
no one's going to test your blood for all those pills I slipped in you.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
in Hillsborough County, don't die over here.
No. So listen. But what I'm saying is, I didn't know that your regular physician could be the.
It should be.
There's nothing to see here. I know. I've never seen that. Really,
I've never seen where the medical examiner didn't say, "Okay, Mr. Diaco, thank you for Mr. Clem's investigation. Thank you. We'll take that, and we're going to go ahead and do our own deal. We're gonna Quincy it up, and we're going to do our own deal. We're just not going to go by what you said, but." Listen, nothing against what you said, because you're probably 100% right. We're going to use that as a gauge. That's our starting point. Mm-hmm. But we're going to dig into it as well. We're just going to verify what you said. AFib, morbidly obese, too many pills, yippee-yo. So
you would think they'd get a third set of eyes on it,
But hold on, they didn't even, from what I can gather, because Dan, if you look at this, medical examiner case number not applicable. Because the reason why, from my inside sources, is the medical examiner basically took Dr. Joseph Fitzgerald Jr.'s report, and that's what they went with.
Well, that's the certifying physician is Gerald Fitzgerald. It says right above it. Type of certifier, certifying physician, the medical examiner case, not applicable. So you're 100% right.
Right.
Was not examined.
And I was told this by a very reputable reporter in town. This is not a family member. This is not an inside circle. This is not a valet. This is not, I was told by a very reputable reporter in town that the only person that investigated this as to how he died was Gerald Joseph Fitzgerald. And Dan, if you look at this, this is the state of Florida Bureau of Vital Statistics certificate of death. This is the end all be all when it comes to how Terry Jean Bolea died. This is right? This is the document.
Yes.
And you can, right here, certifiable people that certified his death was one person, that Gerald Joseph Fitzgerald Jr.
He could have said run over by a unicorn and no one would have contested it. There's no way to confirm.
And had the medical examiner examined it and done his job as a medical examiner, it would have had a case number. Am I right?
Yep.
It would have had a case number.
And you would think that a guy as big and popular as Hogan that had, such a demise after a set of surgeries that they would want to know structurally what happened.
Right. Especially if he's the most popular person ever
in the world. One of the most recognizable faces in the world of all time.
But not only that,
right?
Hold on.
I mean,
100%.
Not only that,
top three of all time.
But not only that, Dan, let's funnel that on down to probably the most popular person ever to die in Clearwater in this particular medical examiner's office.
For sure.
Without a question, Bubba. Without a question.
So if you're the medical examiner, thank you, Dr. Gerald Joseph Fitzgerald Jr. You're a great doctor. In fact, I have your credentials right here. You're a great doctor listed on Indian Rocks Road. You've been in practice since 1995. I'm sure you got privileges at Suncoast Hospital, at Largo Medical. I'm sure you're Terry's primary physician. I know you know Terry probably like the back of your hand. You're his primary doctor. But I'm sorry, Gerald, I need another set of eyes to look at this before I'm, as the medical examiner of Pinellas County, gonna sign off on it.
Jedi Jeremy gifted 5 memberships.
I'm sorry. And so here's why I'm a little concerned. Now, Eric Bischoff went to Clearwater. Hogan was released, Lummy, either on Saturday or Sunday from the hospital.
Okay.
And he was released from Morton Plant and released to go home with no machines, no breathing apparatuses, no ECMO machine, no ventilator, no nothing. He had some breathing exercises and stuff that he could do at home. Some rehabilitated stuff that he could do at home. You know that little thing that they send with you, Dan? You blow in and you blow like 20 times and you try to push the little thing up and...
It's actually sucking, but it's the incentive spirometer.
Right. So he had one of those, and he had a couple other things, and he was sent home, and they did have a medical bed for him so he could be comfortable, and he was sent home on the weekend to start rehabilitating himself because he wasn't going to die. He was Morton Plant. I mean, Jay, this comes right down your alley. A hospital can't release a person that potentially isn't out of the woods. I got to think that might be somewhat liable.
Unless it's against medical advice, but I mean, we never heard that.
No. Hogan wanted to go home probably, but and so he could start his trek back. So he gets sent home on Saturday or Sunday with a hospital bed. That's it. And some ticky-tack little rehabilitative things. No machines, no nothing. Eric Bischoff comes in. Now, I'm going somewhere with this, so just please. Eric Bischoff comes into town on Monday, and Lummy, he's been on record and done many reports, and he said Terry was embarrassed that how he looked. He looked frail. He looked weak.
Yes.
But he was okay. I mean, he was not. He could get up. He could walk. His timbre in his voice. He couldn't project and talk. He talked lightly and softly. But other than that, and other than looking frail and not being able to talk that well, he was good. Jimmy Hart saw him on Wednesday. Now, Jimmy Hart is the ultimate hype man, yes. But he doesn't want to look stupid. Nobody wants to look stupid, and you can't be any... And nobody wants to look less credible. That Wednesday you would report, saw Hogan, looks amazing, going to be okay. He dies the next morning. Now, Nick wasn't there. Nobody was there except his wife. And here's the key. I've talked to people that have heard the recording of the paramedics calling into Morton plant as they're headed there, and they told I guess, Dan, when you're a paramedic and you're rushing to the hospital, kind of like Emergency 51, where they used to get the doctor on the phone, they a lot of times will radio ahead and get a doctor on the radio to give them what they're coming in with, and maybe potentially some
therapy, some direction on therapy.
Right.
Give them some D5W.
Right, with a Ringer's lactate. Listen, man, it didn't matter if your head was cut off or you had a bee sting.
They all need it.
Back in Emergency 51 days, it was starter Ringers with a D5W.
We never use D5W.
Which I think is just like sugar water or something
It
like
is.
that.
We never use that. We use lactated Ringers all the time, but I've never used D5W.
Give me a Ringer's lactate with a D5W.
I was waiting my whole career to use it. I still haven't used it.
You've always wanted to call that D5W out, haven't you,
Two
buddy?
things. I wanted to be FACS because they used to talk about the doctors. It would be MD FACS, which meant Fellow of the American College of Surgeons. I did. I also wanted to give D5W, which I still to this day have yet to give.
So what you don't understand. So in this particular report written by a guy named Chris Spada, he said Hogan died July 24th at the age of 71 after collapsing at home in Clearwater Beach while doing therapy, according to first responders' radio communications that morning. So he was actually up doing some type of therapeutic exercise when he fell over dead.
Now, we know he didn't have a PE. How do we know? We know he had an MI because we don't know. You know what I'm saying? We have no idea what really happened.
Here's what I think happened. Paramedics who rushed Hogan to the Morton Plant Hospital told the staff there that Hogan had just returned home from the hospital after surgery. Hogan was also, paramedics said, currently waiting to start dialysis. Now, when you are gonna start dialysis, you go in, and probably while he was at the hospital, when you start kidney dialysis, you have to get poked by such a large needle, 14 gauge, Dan, I don't know, 15 gauge, 13 gauge, that they will run a port. They run a port, and so that when you start dialysis, they just stick right into the port. Your port's been already pre-sewn in, and that's how, Dan, dialysis is done. It's not done intravenously every time you go there. They poke a vein because your veins will be blowed out after 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So they start with a port, and a port has it's about the size of a dime, and you just literally poke the needle right in that port, and it's directly wired. It's hardwired into your veins.
Well, something like this, if you're getting dialysis, they do, which likely a dual lumen or 2-line catheter underneath his neck or underneath his collarbone or in his neck, because when you do dialysis, you need blood in and blood out, and
Right.
so it's at high volume.
But what I'm saying is,
But it's directly into the bloodstream, and it's a semi-permanent line.
and it's
massive.
and it's easy to
Access.
Yes. And you can jab a needle right into it. Mm-hmm. That's what it's meant to do.
Yes.
It's meant to jab a needle right in the side of his neck so that he doesn't have to get a real needle jabbed into a side of his neck. He's been pre-wired.
Correct.
Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that he was getting ready to start kidney dialysis until the paramedics called to the doctor, and the person that I spoke to has the communication radio traffic, because that's under the Sunshine Act obtainable if you know how to ask. And they're telling the doctor that he is he's ported or wired for dialysis, scheduled to start kidney dialysis. So the paramedics, while they're en route, they administered Narcan, and they administered drugs that could treat high level of potassium, a sign of kidney failure, which can lead to cardiac arrest. They also gave him 2 milligrams of Narcan, a drug that can quickly reverse opiate overdoses. So, Dan, they gave them some type of potassium that, I guess, to maybe reverse, kidney failure. And at this point, I was told through reliable sources that they were he was dead, and they were throwing everything at he didn't die of an opiate overdose, but they were thinking that maybe there was remnants of him being under from anesthesia, and Narcan, sometimes a wonder drug, and so they threw not one but two shots at Narcan and this kidney failure potassium, and he was never able to be revived. And he died. Well, they immediately got this doctor to come in on a cremation to create this report. And the medical examiner never did his own report. He's relying on Gerald Joseph Fitzgerald Jr.'s report. And that's what they're going with. Now, don't you think if Bischoff saw him able-bodied on Monday, walking around, if Jimmy saw him able-bodied on Wednesday, less than 12 to 24 hours before he died, and he was in the middle walking around doing his breathing exercises, and he collapsed and fell over while doing rehabilitative exercises, you don't think... I don't know who, and I ain't saying nothing, but you don't think that somebody could have just jabbed while you're sleeping, jabbed something in that port that could cause your heart to stop? I mean, Dan, I'm not telling you this is how, but could you not think of 50 things that you could jab in that port that could hurt a human being?
50, at least.
So... But nobody's asking any questions. And
it's bizarre, Bubba.
And now hold on. The medical examiner didn't do a report. He relied on the general physician to do it, and there is no autopsy, and he's already been cremated.
Ain't nothing to see here.
Boy, there's nothing here at all, is there, boys? There's nothing. There is nothing to see here other than what they're claiming to be nearly with properties, $40 million. There's $40 to $50 million at stake here. You just got married to a Scientologist 2 years ago. There's been reports that she's moved some stuff around and what have you. I don't know any of that to be true. Rumor has it that's strictly somebody else's opinion, not mine. But I got to think, if you're that high profile with that much money, that newlywed, you are the first person to step on up to an autopsy. No autopsy, And in fact, the majority of this information came from a certificate of cremation.
Which I sent that to you.
I think where's that at, Lemmy? Is that?
I said that in your messenger if you didn't have it pulled up.
Oh, is it sent right now?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me see this. So again, I'm the whack job.
They didn't even do a toxicology report. Nothing.
No toxicology report. No, nothing. Not even the medical. Is this right here?
Yeah.
Here we go. District 6 Medical Examiner. Cremation Approval Summary Report. Terry Bolea. Cremation case C25-09-884. Cremation approved. Yes. Pathologist Wayne whoever. What's EDRS data, Dan? What does that stand? Probably some kind of routing. I don't know what it is. It says the funeral home it's going to be. Certifying physician. Gerald Joseph Fitzgerald. And no medical examiner report. They're going completely by Gerald Joseph Fitzgerald Jr.'s report. And it's my understanding that they've already burned him up.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen that he was already burned on any article so far.
Well, it says approved date.
It said approved, but I haven't seen it actually executed. So,
but I mean,
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm sure it has been.
Okay, well, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I mean, here's the deal. I don't know that he's. Okay, it's obviously been approved. I mean, now hold on. The reason why I think he's been burned up, Jay, is because tomorrow is the funeral.
Right.
Tomorrow is the funeral for the wrestlers and his friends. The family had theirs on Thursday at 5:00. While there still may have been a body, but there's obviously you guys can see here that the cremation has been approved, and you guys will. I know that both of you, very smart individual, one a lawyer and one a doctor and a lawyer, is that the medical examiner didn't do a report, and there was no autopsy.
Correct.
And he died. He literally fell over while rehabilitating himself, and he was healthy enough to be sent home from the hospital and seen by two of his friends, Eric Bischoff and Jimmy Hart, both of which said he will be okay.
Couple things, Bubba. When you have a hit, and that a hit being, a surgery and another surgery and a complication and all those things, sometimes you get what's called multi-system organ failure. And multi-system organ failure is when the rest of your body starts falling apart. That's one of the reasons that he may have needed dialysis, because his kidneys were failing. So under that argument, you have CLL, which makes you hypercoagulable, meaning easier to clot. He has kidney disease, which also makes you hypercoagulable. He's been sitting around, doing relatively nothing compared to traveling the world slinging beer, which makes you hypercoagulable. And, he could easily have had some kind of plaque. He was probably hyper-vaccinated since he was, commercial and doing show business and doing wrestling. So he's probably had all those vaccines. You add that all up together, and you got a guy that does have potential for a heart attack. But again, doing light therapy under a controlled situation,
having been
an athlete his whole life,
having been sent home by the hospital
Looking
and seen by two of his friends. To me, man, I'm just saying I don't know what happened. I don't know who did what. I don't know if anybody did what.
And maybe, Dr. Fitz was, who he may have been managing his pain medication. And maybe it was too much pain medication. And maybe that's why they gave Narcan. Because usually you don't give Narcan twice unless they get a response the first time. Because, if you give Narcan and nothing happens, then okay, nothing happens. So, but if they give Narcan, all of a sudden he perks up a little bit, like, well, let's give a little more Narcan. What was he on? Was it a benzodiazepine? Was it too much pain medicine? I mean, the guy took a lot of pain medicine in his career. It's no surprise.
If I had been contacted by the family, I would have investigated this 10 out of 10 times.
I would absolutely have
100%.
I would have insisted on an autopsy.
Jay, not only would you have informed a family, just a regular old family, hey, we need to look into this.
Get an autopsy, I would say. Get an autopsy.
But exacerbate that by being the world's most popular person in the world. and
literally the most. I mean, literally, Bubba. I mean, really, you're without exaggerating. He was literally the most popular face
in the
alive.
world.
At one point, there was three. It was he, Muhammad Ali, and Gandhi. The three
Right.
most popular
Well,
faces.
those other
Show
two
them,
guys
like,
are dead.
in the the
Right.
desert of Australia, and they know.
So my first question is, okay, why didn't the medical examiner? I mean, I would have called for an autopsy right away, but why didn't the medical examiner say, "Thank you, Dr. Fitzgerald, appreciate it, kicked ass on that report"? But you know what? Listen, people of staff, we got to go back and we've got to cover our ass here. Because inevitably, I guess inevitably it's not their responsibility. If I didn't know that you could just check off on somebody's death like that, whether it be a homeless person or the most popular person in the world, that I always thought the medical examiner had to put his hands on that dead person and come up with a synopsis from his office if he was going to issue a Florida Department death certificate, a Florida death certificate, one like this, that you could never put medical examiner case number not applicable. Dan, that means he didn't touch him.
Yep.
That means he didn't. You
Correct.
can see it plain. Bubba can be the biggest asshole conspiracy theorist ever. Right now, the way I read this is that this is the only person right here, Gerald Joseph Fitzgerald Jr. And I'm not saying anything about that guy. Listen, that guy's probably the best doctor in the world. He's got privileges in two great places, and you know what? His report's probably dead on. But how do you, as a medical examiner, rubber stamp this to an immediate cremation with not only the medical examiner should have been the least of what we got. Not to mention an autopsy. I want an autopsy.
Well, Bubba, we're trying to save money here. We're trying to, not exploit the system, and we're trying to prevent.
I think actually an autopsy is $5,000.
No, I think a private autopsy is a lot less than that.
I think you're
now.
wrong.
It's not, Jay. It's about $4,000 or $5,000.
It's about $5,000. The reason why I can ask Jay is because when my stepfather died, we as a family kind of got together and said when we were at Dobie's funeral house, they're like,
autopsies cost between $3,000 and $5,000.
Damn, drop the mic.
I was just saying the three part. That's all.
No, you said
we're both
400.
right.
You said 400.
Bubba
Jay.
said-
I was talking about to the government.
Bubba said
What do you think it
5,000.
costs for
Bubba
the
nailed it.
government
Jay,
to
take
pay
the
the
L.
bill?
Take the L, Jay. Take
Okay,
the L.
so-
Take the L. Take the L.
I was just going to say, though, Gene Hackman, which happened in, I believe, Arizona, the medical examiner did their own independent investigation. Michael Jackson in L.A. County, the medical examiner did their own independent investigation. Joan Rivers in New York City, the medical examiner did their own investigation. Why didn't they do one here? I don't get it. Again,
That's
just that alone. I mean,
at
it's
the very least,
public interest.
At the very least, Dan, let's say, again, the family didn't require an autopsy. But at the very least, man, if I'm the medical examiner and I got everybody at every news source up my ass looking at this piece of particular paper that we're looking at right now, everybody, at least every newsworthy source at least got this.
Theo got an autopsy. Why can't Hogan?
So everybody, every news source in the world got the certificate of death.
Yes.
Everybody.
With no substantiation, dude. This might as well have been artwork drawn up by Danny 10 years ago. That's how useless it is.
And
that's how uninformative and unfactual it is.
Wouldn't that, I know you got to go, but wouldn't that doesn't that make anybody ask any questions that the medical examiner just rubber stamped it to go to the crematorium to get burned up and no autopsy and not even a medical examiner's examination? You took his physician's word for it, and he could have pencil whipped that all day, hiding all types of certain things. And does this not scream? I'm not saying somebody killed him, but it certainly does not seem appropriate and or the way things are supposed to be done.
It doesn't, Bubba. And this is like the kind of thing you get from like Epstein's death certificate. Okay, nothing to see here.
Yeah, because he
Let's
hung
move
himself.
on.
Right. I don't know, man. To me,
it's sketchy, Bubba. I agree. It's and I'm not a conspiracy guy, but it doesn't make any sense that a guy this popular that was sitting up and recovering and then out of nowhere drops. That's not natural causes. Natural causes is a guy that's in the hospital. He's septic. He's got multi-system organ failure. His lungs are filled with fluid.
On ECMO.
He's on a vent. He's got dialysis. He stopped urinating. His blood goes down. So he dies. Okay. He was 92 years old. Okay, you don't get an autopsy on that guy. God rest his soul. You take Hulk Hogan, who had 2 elective surgeries, and then has a recovery, a slow recovery, but is bouncing back from his recovery.
Doing rehabilitative exercises when he died.
And worth $50 million.
Worth $50 million.
You get the autopsy.
I wonder if he threw an embolism or what happened.
What happened?
Just married 2 years ago. Just married 2 years ago to a known Scientologist.
Which could be one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Which could be one of the reasons. And again, no one's saying that Dr. Fitzgerald did anything wrong. What we're saying is, why didn't the medical examiner do their own independent investigation?
An insistence.
And, they can always done. Danny and I have been involved in cases where we thought the circumstances surrounding the death were very suspicious, where Danny called as doctor to medical examiner, and they refused to do an autopsy under certain circumstances. So, that does happen. But it's rarely the family doctor saying, don't do one. It's usually the family doctor saying, do one, and the medical examiner is like, okay, there's not really unnatural circumstances here.
If I'm the medical examiner, I'm saying, listen, I got to cross my T's and dot my I's. I just want to make sure it all went down this way. Thank you for the gauge and the notes, Dr. Joseph Fitzgerald. Thank you. You're dead on. I'm going to use your notes, your copious notes to follow your path. You know what? You're dead on. And I'm going to be able to say that I, as a medical examiner of Pinellas County, put my hands and my expertise on this body, and here's the case number of what he died from, and it was exactly what Joseph Fitzgerald Jr. said. Boom.
And the tox. Report.
Now I feel better, and I like to have a toxology report, and I'd like to know what is in his system, because there are 100 things that could have been shot into that port while he was sleeping that could have killed him. He was perfect on Monday. He was getting better on Wednesday, and he fell over dead when he woke up Thursday morning while exercising.
And, Bubba, by the way, that can happen when people have been convalescing for weeks on ends, and then they start getting upright, and they get that's why Danny was talking about coagulation, because then they get a blood clot in their leg, and it's thrown. It's called a pulmonary embolism, and then you have a cardiac event, and you're dead. And that can happen to somebody who's otherwise healthy. And so you can assume he's on the road to recovery, but a medical examiner report would tell us that.
Yep.
Was it a pulmonary embolism? Was it something untoward? Was it this, was
it too much potassium? What was it? What was it?
And
what
if somebody had put something in that port to cause him disruption, it would have come up in a toxology report.
And by the way, Bubba, if he had cardiovascular disease to the point of atherosclerosis, to the point of it being a danger for a heart attack, that should have been fixed before his neck was fixed. Again, it doesn't make sense. I'm sure he had some kind of cardiac workup before his 2 neck surgeries.
I'm just saying, this is fishy, and I'm the only one that has dug into this, known that he had a port, because he was going to start dialysis, and nothing is easier to inject something into a person's body than having a port.
Including air.
So that's what I'm thinking. I'm sure everybody's going to tear me apart, but the death certificate doesn't lie, does it?
It doesn't say nothing.
No, but I'm saying, it leads to what I'm saying. Meaning nobody really looked at this thing except one doctor. Mm-hmm. His general doctor is the only doctor that looked at this. Nobody else objectively. Now, multiply the fact that the guy's not a homeless dude just laying on a park bench, and if he dies, he dies, okay? This is the most popular human being ever to live in Pinellas County, ever to live in Florida, and most likely ever to live in the world. And I want every T crossed, every I dotted, and if he has a port that people can easily inject things into his system, and there are periods of time that there is nobody but maybe his wife with him, I'd like to know more information. Anyway, there you go. There's what I think. And Dan, I'm not saying that you have to believe me, but I mean,
we need something more than something that Dr. McStuffin would write up.